Okay, my friends, today we are going to look at bleeding a master cylinder. For this purpose, I chose a master cylinder that's typically used on General Motors cars in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It is made of cast iron and it was used on perhaps millions of cars. These particular two were used on a Corvette, which is typical of many. So, in bleeding a master cylinder, what you need to do is there are two possibilities. One if it's new, and the other if it's a rebuilt unit. Basically, it's the same. If you were to rebuild it, the parts that generally are part of the rebuild are the rubbers on these inside pieces here and there, these here, and on this front piece, this rubber piece here and the rubber piece there. Now, how this is installed, very simple. This goes in as one unit or separately, depends on how you like to do it. First one goes in like that, and the second one follows. Of course, you oil it well with brake fluid, and then you get the special lock, spring lock. You press down and you put the spring lock, and that will be it. خلاص مش ضروري أكتر. Yeah, that's good. Okay, now, so let's say this is the rebuilt unit. We have one here. We have one here, ready for the process. The first thing we are going to do is to, using these two pieces here, to bleed air out of the master cylinder. Okay, now, these two have different sizes, front and rear. You don't really need them, but if you have them and they're made out of brass hard lines, you can make them at home easily, but you need to find the proper fittings. Okay, so we install these two on the master cylinder as a first step. Okay, and then we tighten them. Now, what these do, when we install them, after we install them and put them in nice and tight, let's see, okay. Now, I used brass hard lines because for this particular exercise, these are something that I use over and over again. So if they were steel hard lines, it's not easy to bend them around, and you'll see now in a moment. So the next step is to put oil. We fill the master cylinder with oil, brake fluid that is. Here we are using DOT3. Now, many people notice perhaps that on YouTube there are postings about how to do this, but in my view they lack in detail. So I hope that I'm going to be able to cover this for whoever wants to do it at home. And now we bend these tubes into the oil, and that's now you see why I used brass hard lines, so this can be easily done. Okay, you bend them to get into the oil, not necessarily too deep inside, but just make sure that they are in the oil. Now tighten these again, okay, just to make sure. Now, many people think that this step is actually the step that completes the bleeding process. In fact, it's not. And then, in certain situations, if not most, you can do it on the car, but it's easier to do here on the bench, and I'll show you in a moment why. Okay, now start pumping, and slowly, so that we can see the air bubbles coming out. You see the air bubbles? Okay, keep pumping slowly. Don't let the oil flow outside. If you do it too fast, the oil will splash around. You don't want that. Okay. So, pumping it a few times will get the oil inside where the cylinder, where the piston assembly goes into its cylinder. It has to be 100% free of air. Now you'll notice bubbles continually coming out. Now after some time, and you will keep seeing bubbles because it's not easy to bleed this. The passages are very small where the oil is to be bled. And you'll see in a moment what we do next to ensure that it's properly and completely bled. This is a brake system, and something like this should never be taken lightly. Okay, let's wipe the oil here. Okay. Excuse the dogs in the background. They're playing. Now they're barking. Stop it, Chico. Stop it. We're busy. Okay? All right. Back to the master cylinder. Okay. Now, the next step, what we're going to do, we're going to put the cover on, at least temporarily. Okay? We're going to fill in the oil to the normal level. Okay, that's enough. Okay. Now, we put the cover on. We bend these out, just out of the way. Yeah. We put the cover and tighten it down. Now, this will help because when we remove these, okay, the cover will help in not allowing oil to flow out. But this is not the end of it, because we still don't know for sure if it has been properly bled. Now, before we continue, the next step is going to be removal of these hard lines and putting in plugs, these two plugs. And why are we doing this? We are doing this because we want to see how strong, when we pump, that this will be a simulation to our foot on the brake pedal. So you will see it become stiff here. If we keep these, we can't really know for sure how much, close to 100% it has been bled. So now we will go to the next step. Now you remove these, please, one by one, and put in the plugs and tighten them in. Okay. Here's the small plug. Okay. So as you can see, not much oil flowed out, so we do it as quickly as we can. It won't be a... Good. Okay. Next one. Tighten. Okay. Now these two plugs have different patterns for tightening them down. One is a 6-point and the other is a 4-point. But I'm sure you'll find them in the market with the similar installation method. These I just found them around here in my shop. Okay, so we remove the rear one now and quickly put the plug in its place. That's good. Okay. Tighten them well. Make sure they're tight, okay?
Okay.
So both are tight?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I'll bring this slowly. So you will notice,
Good.
okay, you will notice that the piston inside movement is very small, which means that you have the hydraulics working in the system, okay, and it's just like the pedal movement on a fresh set of new brakes, which means that you have no downward sinking of your foot pedal. I think so the next step will be we will just open these one by one, just slightly to make it leak a bit, make sure that any air, no matter how small, is out, and then we retighten. So undo this first, slightly, and at the same time, once you loosen this, just a little bit until you see oil coming out, very little, that's enough. Okay, now tighten here. Okay, that's it. So we close it. As you have seen, some oil came out with little air. So now we do the front one, same way. Okay, take it out. Okay, loosen. That's enough. Okay. Take out. لا شيل برا. Okay, now. Okay. Now it's tight. Tighten this a little more. Okay. So as you can see, the movement here should be somewhere between 1/4 of an inch and no more than 1/2 inch at most, less than 1/2 inch. Okay, this will tell you that this has been bled properly and it's ready for installation. Okay, that's enough. Now we open the cover, check the fluid level. Okay, and we fill the missing amount. Okay, good. Okay, that's enough. Okay, put the cover please back on. That's good. Now, this master cylinder is ready to be put in the car. Now, once you install it, whether you have power brakes or not, you put it on your firewall or your power brake booster, tighten it down, finish the installation of that part. Then one by one, you take out these plugs and you connect the brake line in the car to its proper location. And with this, you should be done. Now, an extra step that I suggest is once you put in the oil lines in place on the car, just keep them, tighten them first, well, then one by one loosen and have someone depress the pedal to make sure that no air found its way back in. Just a little bit, you just loosen it until you see some oil sipping out, and then you tighten it back again. Do the same thing here, and with that you're done. And this will show, this bleeding on the bench will show you that the piston travel here simulates the foot travel. Of course, as I said before, you can do this in the car, but you will not feel exactly how good the piston travel here is. Now, if you notice, okay, press C, you can barely take it in. And on the bench, you can see that and satisfy yourself to that conclusion. So I hope you like the show, and please don't mind the accent. Thank you very much.